First and foremost, I would like to ask you, did the unfortunate reports, of course, of a crash yesterday slow down activities on the exchange at all today? I mean, many people are asking, what effect is this going to have in our market? So what effect did it really have, and did it really slow down activities on our market today?
I think it slowed down activities not just on the market, but across corporate Nigeria. There are lots of people, I knew people on the plane crash, and I've met lots of people who knew someone who knew someone. So people have been exchanging messages, oh, do you know that guy who was on it? So psychologically, I think people have been down all over the country today. Corporate Nigeria has also been affected, and the market is within the same universe. So it's only natural that it would affect the markets.
Now, as we're seeing, of course, the market, the index did close down at about, losing about 0.81% today. What is your response to some analysts who do say that the current weak trend we're seeing on the market is actually history repeating itself? They actually say that since 2009, during the May-September period, we tend to see our index sort of slump during this period. It's not an unusual thing. What is your response to analysts who say that?
Well, basically, initially at the market opened this year. After it opened, then companies, investors were expecting 2011 full-year results. Now, all those results have come in. These companies have declared dividends. They've had all sorts of tremendous corporate actions. They've had their shareholders' meetings. They've released Q1 results. So for this period now, you're going to have this lull where you're really expecting what's the next big thing. So people who have cashed in have cashed out, actually. So right now, you can actually understand where the lull is coming from. Unfortunately, last week, there were a series of not so pleasant news which did affect trading activities just before the crash. The Minister of Finance announced that the economy was going to fall. The growth in the economy, the rate of growth was going to drop from about 7 to 8% to 6 to 7%. The fuel crisis, we're probably looking at if there could be, possibilities for another fuel crisis. The federal government is saying that, look, we spent up so much money. We spent up a bulk of the budget on fuel subsidies, paying arrears, and this year's budget, no one knows where it's going to come from the fuel subsidy, to subsidize Nigeria's fuel consumption. So there have actually been a series of not too pleasant news which had already affected the markets last week, then just before the plane crash occurred. So outside the usual historicals, which, post dividend payments, post shareholders meetings, you now have some not too pleasant economic news coming in as well. So all that together is actually worsening investors' inertia.
Yeah. Well, in your opinion, do you think the market will continue to trend lower? I mean, I was reading a Renaissance Capital report today, and it did mention a few things such as increased global risk, lack of fresh flows of funds from offshore investors, and of course, an absence of domestic long-only funds in the Nigerian market as factors that will continue to make us keep seeing our markets trending lower. So in your opinion, will this continue?
Well, for a while now, we'll keep talking about how Nigerian retail investors have left the market. The interesting and exciting yields in the Nigerian fixed income space would imply that institutional investors like PFAs will continue to opt for government debt over equities. PFAs have an allowance of 25% asset classification in equities, but many of them are doing between 10 and 12%. So largely, the market has been dominated by foreign portfolio investors. So actually, the Nigerian market right now is at the mercy of foreign portfolio investors. Lots of uninteresting news last week, which would probably have lowered their confidence. So we can only hope and wait that the foreign portfolio investors see excitement, see interest in the markets, and then they come in. But on the back of it, you continue to, the lower discount, the great discounting on some of the value stocks will continue to create opportunities for some homegrown investors to actually move in, take positions, and probably take strategic stake in some of these companies. Transcorp, for instance, I'm not sure if Tony Elumelu's Hair's Holding would have been able to take the stake they took in Transcorp if it was selling at its all-time high of close to 9 naira. So at a discount of 50 kobo at its par value, you could just see investors who say, look, this company is sitting on some interesting book value. It's sitting on some intrinsic assets. What am I waiting for? I can move in. I have very little to lose. At least it's on its par value. So you continue to see such opportunities from local investors, actually.
Yeah. Now, I know that analysts are also saying that this slowdown is a great opportunity for investors to, of course, pick pick some of these stocks, some of these high value stocks at a cheaper price right now. For example, especially top tier banks who we're seeing getting back on their feet after, of course, what happened in 2008, 2009. Now, what are some of the stocks you think we can make profits from, that investors can make profits from? I know Zenith Bank used to be one of the hot stocks, not so hot anymore. It's very cheap right now. Skybank is actually the cheapest. Do you think these are some of the buys that investors should be going for?
Now, I'm not sure if you can make a good profit from some of these banks, but I'm sure of one thing. I'm sure that they actually portend good stocks for value investors. If you would make return, it would all depend on if there will be good arbitrage opportunities. Now, I'm not sure if that's going to happen because we're about to we're probably entering a phase of lull in the market. So that may not present some good arbitrage opportunities in terms of if these stocks will spike for you to make good returns on them. But I'm sure of one thing. I'm sure that there are lots of good value stocks right now, especially amongst the banks. Look at ETI, for instance, Eco Transnational Bank. It is in over 30 African countries. It is generating lots of interest from big South African institutional investors. It's Nigeria's, if it were a wholly Nigerian bank, it will be probably Nigeria's second biggest bank by total assets. It's the second most attractive bank by returns on equities. And guess what? It's trading at a price below its book value. So yes, they would offer good returns to long-term value investors. If they would offer short-term returns, I'm not sure. Skybank has been attractive for years now, and yet the value really hasn't come out in terms of returns to investors. So you continue to have this. If you're a value investor, yes, you can go in. If you're a speculative investor, then you may have to look harder before you go in.
Now, very quickly, I did want to talk about NASCON. We saw them release results on Friday, quite good. We saw turnover actually was up about 8.9%, profit after tax grew 30%, and of course we heard shareholders approved a 70 kobo dividend. What is your take on that stock specifically? We saw it gain today actually. So what is your take on that stock?
NASCON is part of the Dangote Group.
Yes.
It's possibly a defensive stock in the sense that, look, people would always take salt, irrespective of a poor economic downturn or not.
That's true.
Now, the company it's crying for expansion, actually. And to a long-term value investor, I may say to myself, okay, look, this company is crying for expansion. So I expect that they'll be probably injecting some of this cash. Why they're not, I do not know. But I really do not want to see 5 years down the line what's happening to Dangote Flour today to be happening to them. What happens if greater competitors, if other more ambitious competitors come into the salt market in Nigeria? What's going to happen to NASCON? So yes, the dividends are quite good. They're quite attractive to short-term shareholders. But I think for value investors who actually want to see what this company will be doing in 5 years, it would be nice to see them re-inject some of these profits, some of this bounty profit, rather than just pay it all as dividends, pay, for expansion.
Okay, well, thank you so much. That's Jimi Ogbobine with BGL Capital.